See niggas smile up in your face and stick a knife in your back. I was born to take power, leave my mark on this planet.
I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, the one and only Elohim of Israel. Shalom and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the service of Elohim, and the promises, whose are the Father, whom as concerning the flesh, our Mashiach came, who is overall Elohim blessed. Hope all is good and well. Want to welcome everybody to this fellowship, the Indigenous Distraction. This will be like a part 2. You know, if you wasn't able to catch the video the other day, the Indigenous Lie, we'll be sort of picking up from there, dealing with the notion of our brothers and sisters believing that we are indigenous to this land, and just sort of going into more detail about that. What's going on, Brother Kadar?
Shalom, shalom. All praises and blessings to the Most High Yah for waking us up, sending the Messiah himself to die and resurrect for the 12 tribes of Israel, which are Negroes. Shalom. Shalom to the chat, brothers on the panel. We're ready to get it in. Indigenous distraction. You're right, because before this awakening, you know, black people were in around, say they think they mixed with Indians, but it wasn't no movement like it is now.
Yeah, that's a strong point right there. I want to kind of get into that because it seemed like this awakening has really caused a lot of things to come out that wasn't out before, this being one of them. And we can even talk about the Kemetic side of things. None of that was really prevalent, you know, until we start waking up and realizing who we really are. And to me, it's all a distraction. You know, we're gonna break that down. We got let me see, we got sister, daughter of Zion. Shalom, sis. Hope all is good and well. We're gonna get into the chat. See who we got. Sister 8, Sister 78 Vet. Shalom from Sister 78 Vet. Good to see you. Robert Yellick Sr. What's going on, brother Yellick? What's going on, Robert Yellick? All praises to the Most High and our mighty Messiah, Yahusha. Indeed. Good to see you in the chat, bro. Got Brother Yohanan. Shalom from Brother Yohanan in the chat. Good to see you as always. Miss Paula Ann. Shalom. Good to see you, sis. My love in the chat. Shibriya. Blessings as always. It's the love of my life right there, y'all. We got Sister Zuriya. Shalom, sis. Hope all is good and well. I want to get y'all's feedback too. Like, in the first session, we got a lot of good feedback. I'm sure everybody got experience, or a lot of our people may have experience with this side of things. So let's hear it. We got Good Life. Shalom. Good to see you in the chat, Good Life. We got Brother Yanakota. Shalom. I'm going to definitely put the link out there. I thought I emailed you, though. Check your email. If I didn't, I'll definitely put the link out there. Brother Amir. Shalom. Shalom from Brother Amir. As always, my brother, good to see you. So I want to kind of hear from you a little bit, Brother Kadar. In the first one, what we did was sort of made the connection to show that there is indeed a connection between our people and the so-called Native Americans. So we don't want to deny that. But this indigenous claim, we always been here claim, and particularly when you talk about our people, we starting to see that this is something rather new. Y'all heard me speak a lot about, me hearing growing up about, us being mixed, or we got Indian in us. So it's nothing that's foreign. It's just that now all of a sudden, when we right at the cusp, right at the end of what we know the scriptures is telling us, we start to see this distraction of us being indigenous. And if you ask me, this is an attempt, this is an attack against the awakening, but it's one of the last ones. This is probably one of the last attacks before it things get real and really ramp up, because the when you look into this, we actually do see a connection there. And so, Brother Kadar, kind of break down your understanding, how you grew up, and understanding this connection between us and the Indians.
Oh yeah, my understanding, according to my mother, and how her father used to say that he was a Black Hawk Indian, real dark skinned man. He had gray eyes, right? My granddaddy, and he said that he was a Black Hawk Indian. Of course, my father used to pick at that. And so my oldest brother would say, "We are mixed with Indians." That's what he would say. And when you look at a lot of Black people, especially, I don't understand why light-skinned people saying they mix with Indian. I really don't understand. I guess they talking about the Mongols, because the first people here was real black, dark skin. So when I see dark-skinned people that say that, it really don't bother me. But light-skinned people, y'all are not mixed with Indian. You got Caucasians down the line, but not mixed with Indian. It don't make sense. Unless you mix with Mongols. Anyway, to make a long story short, I did my blood work and we didn't have no Indian. I'm like Rockefeller. What's his name? Rockefeller. I have no Indian blood in my. He said he have no African blood. Lying, and he ain't do no blood work. But how would you say you don't have African blood in you when you don't believe in blood work? You never did it. So it's just that our people are looking for identity. I heard plenty of people there come up. Well, we mixed with. I said, "Have you ever did blood work?" No. I said, "So you going by what you was told?" Yeah. I said, "Do your blood work." And they say, well, I don't know if I trust my blood work. I said, do you? I said, for number one, if you go out here and commit a crime, right, and they get the blood off of the scene, how can they track you down? They'll say, I don't know. I said, you been born in America? Was you a baby? They see, I said, they got your blood. So, I said, if somebody put a child on you, and you said, that's not my child, you know it's not your child, right? Are you going to just say, I don't believe in blood work? When you do the blood test, the child come back 99.9% yours, you go tell that judge you don't believe in blood work and see what happened to you. You're going to be paying child support, even though you don't think, if you think that 1% is saying that's not your child, you still going to pay child support. So my point is, a lot of these people that's in this Indian movement, when you talk about blood work, they say, I don't deal with that. Well, just like earlier you was talking about with the camp guys, they talking about the Messiah, right? We asked them, show some scripture where Joseph had sex with Mary and they could see the Messiah. They can't show that, so they'll go back to other people in his past, great granddad and all that. How is that proven that the Messiah, Joseph had sex with Mary? Same thing. So what our ancestors do, well, I can say ancestors, yeah. Some ancestors, but it ain't too far back, they're claiming Indian heritage by going looking at newspapers and articles and saying that we are Indians, and when you look at the history, we was enslaved by the Indians. Some of us did mix with Indians, true that. However, even some of us even blended in with Indians. You just like when we was in Asia, a lot of us blended in with the Asians. Y'all never heard nobody say we Asian. Y'all hear that? And they got what's that dude, the black guy, the samurai sword and all that. You never heard say he Asian, but this is crazy. Wherever we went, we started to follow the customs of them. So you might see us with a hat on our head and feathers around. That don't mean that we are the people.
In the first part, we showed it was an older gentleman, right? And the coach say runaway slaves, former slaves would often claim to be native to hide from slave catchers. And that's that's something I want to dig more into too, because it's a lot of history of our people fleeing, from plantations and assimilating with the natives. And we're going to see a lot of that in the records too. But in part one, there was this elder gentleman, right? This older brother who said he was one quarter black and 3/4 Indian. That's what he identified as. And so you could see it in his features. Matter of fact, I might pull that back up if I can, try to revisit that. But he said he was 1/4 black, 3/4 Indian, right? And give me a second here. You could actually see it, right? In his features, you can see that he was mixed. I'm gonna try to get right to it. Hold on. Okay, right here. And of course, this is under fair use for the purposes of critique, edification. I don't own this content. This is under fair use. And so with this, I'm gonna play this real quick. We're just gonna play this part because this goes in a lot into what we're saying, fair use.
Don't like Andrew Jackson.
And black were herded to Oklahoma, some groups in winter, with about 1/4 of the Indians and blacks dying along the way.
You got plenty of Indians right today don't like Andrew Jackson in this area.
84-year-old Luther Scales, who describes himself as 1/4 black and 3/4 Indian, is president of the Coweta, Oklahoma Historical Society. He remembers stories his Creek Indian grandfather told him about the removal, which was devastating for the Creeks as well.
He said the roughest part of it was crossing the Mississippi River in a boat.
How so?
Well, man, the Mississippi River, do you know down there in Arkansas and Mississippi, when you're talking about a mile across,
Now, Brother Kadar, if you had a blindfold on, right, and you was hearing this man talk, what would you think?
A black man from the South. Now he's claiming to be an Indian. He got the same last name I got. You heard that? Scale.
Yeah, I said that too in the first one. He got the same last name, brother.
So why is this? He's claiming to be a Indian. So what Indian? Who he's talking about? The $5 Indian? I believe so. Look at his nose.
But this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
By blood, he's saying he's 1/4 black and 3/4 Indian. So he's pretty much a product of the mixture.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got people who look like you and me today saying they don't have no African in their blood. But when you see this man saying he's 1/4 black, 3/4 Indian, you can see the mixture plainly. That's why I said if you put a blindfold on, you would think he was black. But when you look at him, you can obviously see that he's mixed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And he's claiming to be that. Let him get in trouble and see what it be. But, yeah, you can tell he mixed with white, I would say. He says Indian. You know, they took that $5 Indian thing, right?
Yeah.
They ran with that. And you notice them are the ones that getting the money right now. Or the Mungos. So if you claim to be the first people that is America, why ain't you blue black? Why ain't you dark skin? Right? But that's what we have. A lot of people that's our people now. I wonder where the blackness comes from then. Because if he say he's what, one third black or what?
Yeah, 1/4 black,
1/4 black. Where is that coming from? That's why I wonder. Is that coming from his daddy or is it? I guarantee his daddy black. How much y'all want to bet?
That's what I'm saying. It probably is.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I was telling you about when I told you about the brother that I met that said that his granddaddy mixed in with different women within the native tribes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whatever tribe they was a part of, he said his granddaddy mixed with different women. So I pointed this out to show you got people saying they don't have no African in their blood. But you got this man saying he got 1/4 black in him. And you obviously see the mixture. So let me ask you this. The Native Americans that had our people enslaved, right? The Indians who had our people in slavery, who were they?
Mongos. So that's what black people claim they mix with. You're right. This guy claimed African blood and Indian. That's what he's claiming. When people look just like us, it's not mixed. They say they don't have it in them. So Mongos had it in slavery. What you call them? Chickasaw and Cherokee and the 5 civilized Indian tribes. They the one had us in slavery, and they are the one that black people claiming too.
So where were the black Native Americans during the time we was in slavery to the white ones, or Mongols? Where were the black natives?
I don't know where was they at. Can somebody tell me? That's what I'm saying. I would like to get them on here to explain that. Were they in slavery, or they might use that? I don't know. If the black natives was here and they look just like us, why they had to go to Africa? I don't think they ever went to Africa. But how did they say ship? What ship? Well, how do Europeans get over here? They agreed the Europeans came. They came over here by ships, right? So
Yeah,
what makes you think they can't bring us by ships? You see that?
yeah. Brother Johannes say, my family is from Porter, Oklahoma. Does any of your family claim to have any Native American or anything like that, Brother Johannes? Let me know that in the chat. Brother Yanako to say, my granddad was from Mississippi and claimed he was Blackfoot. Only the Blackfoot were from Washington State. Huh. That's interesting. Say definitely a common practice among our people in the South. See, it's say they are more related to Asian people than anyone else. Talking about the Native American. But see, this the thing, and this is what we're gonna get into tonight, right? When they did the Dawes Rolls, right? They separated everybody into three groups. You had those who were by blood, then you had the freedmen, and then you had the Native American Indians that was mixed with white. Y'all get that?
Oh yeah, like that's the ones he went. The one meant to white.
So, but this is all after the fact, brother. Because that's what I'm saying. So he's saying he's a product of he's a product basically of African blood and Native American blood mixing. Now you do have Native Americans that mix with white. What I'm trying to see is who was these Native Americans that enslaved our people, that mixed with our people, because we show how some of these Native Americans even had white people in slavery. Some white people in slavery, whites and blacks. Who were these Native Americans, and who were the black Native Americans during that time, and what were they doing during that time? It's my grandfather's side, but we never checked the Dawes Rolls, so we can't. Okay, that's interesting. Most people it's on their grandmother's side. That's interesting. But we're gonna look into some of that too. But I just found this interesting. You know. So how would you answer that, Brother Kadar? Like what during that time, this is after the fact. This is after the slavery. This was after the when the Native Americans was forced to basically allow the Negroes to assimilate in the tribes and to get land and all of that stuff, right? After that is when the separation began. That's when the Dawes Rolls came. Like I think it was, I forget exactly what year, 1860 something, I believe. I could be wrong, but it was somewhere up in there, right? During that time is when they made the separation between the natives by blood, the natives that was mixed with Negroes, and the ones that was mixed with white. So who were the black Native Americans during that time?
Well, check this out. When you get to that time, some Negro still was getting money until 1938. Because Native Americans went back and said, what can we do to make sure the Negroes don't get none of our reparations, y'all? So what's his name? Clark got a video. He explains it really well, and he got a book out. He explains it really well. What they did is test the blood, and the Negro blood. That's why I said majority of Negroes comes. They say they Native American. Majority they come from the mother's side. So when they test the blood and prove that the Negroes' blood is coming from Africa, this is how they excluded the Negroes from getting the money in 1938. That's what stopped, cut off everybody. But these Negroes, I had this lady I know back in the day. She would say that her mother is a Blackfoot, a Blackfoot Native American. That's what she said. I said, "How do you know that?" She said, "Oh yeah, yeah. The mother's dark skinned. Now the mother about my complexion, a little darker, but it wasn't like jet black." So I asked the mother about it. She said, "Well, I'm gonna get my blood work done." Her mother went and got a blood work done, right? When the mother's blood work come out to be 95% Congo, not a drop of Native American Blackfoot blood. Black folks just run their mouth, y'all. They're looking for a identity, and of course we're looking for identity. And they'll say they Blackfoot, they'll say they Black Hawk. Like my granddaddy said he was a Black Hawk, but we ain't have no Native American blood in him. So this woman, 95%, this woman ain't mixed with nobody. 95% Congo. Yeah, so what but all her life, her daddy and mama told them they was Blackfoot. See them. I don't believe that. It's just that our Black folks are looking for an identity. That's all. And it's easy to say I'm a Native American, but one thing I never heard Black folks say that I come from the Omax, the real Native American. They don't say that. They're always talking about, the Native American pictures we see don't have no hair on their face. Like the guy reads, this dude's beard thicker than mine. He put up Native American. They look like the brown skin with no hair on the face. And I said, what happened to the hair? I said, did they have some type of Gillette razor back then to shave all the hair off their face like that? Yeah. They were better than we were. And none of them on this chat can answer my question. I said, why they have hair on their face, but all of y'all got beards? Come on, man.
Yeah. And I was gonna say something that slipped my mind, but you talked about how they were getting money from the 1800s up to 1938, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go back and look at the history of the enslavement, when they had our people enslavement, that was after they were forced to basically give our people citizenship. This is how a lot of our people started to claim to be Creek, whatever tribes they were subject to. This is how they claimed to become a part of those tribes. And so the by blood part, when you look at a lot of these documents, it lets you know that, it identifies or separates Negro, Indian, or whatever, denoting a mixture. And so I'm trying to understand the connection. Brother Yanakota, he said the Black natives were mostly killed off, and I've actually heard some of that history as well, that a lot of them were killed off.
Where the T.I.R Indians, I'm not laughing, but the T.I.R Indians were blue-black, the real T.I.R Indians, right? They was killed off. I don't think that was Israelites, but yeah.
T.I.R Indians, they was black, but don't the camps say that the T.I.R Indians are Mexicans, or where the Mexicans come from?
Yeah, they say they're Mexicans. I'm like, well, how Mexicans look like they look now? Well, you know, Christopher Columbus raped and robbed women. I said, okay, they're not Israelites. They weren't Israelites anyway. I don't think T.I.R. was. But, okay, if the Chris Columbus and his crew came over and raped and robbed them, why you think they Israelites if they were? Look who their daddies are. Look how they look now. Come on, man. This is easy stuff. Camp guys, they run from it.
Want to look at a video real quick. And the title of this video is Black Indians, America Erased. One of the things that I want to focus on in this part is how, hold on. Yeah, one of the things I want to focus on in this part is how you hear a lot of people say that Negroes or Indians were reclassified as Negroes. Have y'all heard that? Have you heard that a lot, Brother Kadar?
All the time.
And so I want to kind of deal with that a little bit. Once again, this is under fair use. Let's kind of set the tone a little bit, start the discussion. Of course, we want to get y'all thoughts in the chat. I'm going to put the link to this video in the chat as well, just out of respect. You know, once again, this is under fair use. You got any thoughts, Brother Kadar? Any more?
No, I'm ready for the video. I bet it's going to be interesting.
Okay, indeed. Fair use. Let's check this out. Let me get y'all thoughts in the chat too.
Census records. If you comb through America's oldest census records, you will find names and birthplaces simply listed as Black Indian. No controversy, no confusion, just fact. But before the century turned, those same identities quietly vanished from official memory, replaced by new labels and silence. They were erased, not by war, but by paperwork. Why did America need Black Indians hidden, and what else disappeared with them? In the earliest records kept by colonists and census takers, Black Indians were documented in plain sight. Colonial journals from the 1700s describe villages where Native and African people lived side by side.
Now, once again, what I want us to do, like we did in the first one, indeed, fair use. Appreciate that. I want us to take our time and just listen. All right, let's listen slow. What I'm trying to understand is this idea of indigenous. Well, let me see how I can frame this. My point of contention is not were the true native or indigenous people to this land Blacks. That's not my point of contention. Or were they dark-skinned people? My point of contention is simply, were those dark-skinned people, were those Black people our descendants? Did we, as so-called Negro, Black, so-called African-American people, did we descend from these people that were said to have already been here and pretty much came from the ground here? Right? This is the notion. Bro, Kadar, what you think about that notion?
My thing is, when people, I'm talking about Israelites, right, that know the Bible, when they say that, they're going against the Bible. Now, where did this picture come from that we're looking at, Eric, brother Eric? Where's this picture from?
You mean like what year?
What year would this picture be? Because when the pictures start, when did we start able to take pictures? You see what I'm saying?
Around the 1800s, mid 1800s or so.
All right. So if this picture come out of 1800, if y'all remember the 5 civilized tribes, they want to let black people leave after after 1865, right? So the history goes. I don't know how true it is because Esau lied too much. That they had to send the United States Army to the tribes, down into the tribes, and force them to let us go or accept us in the tribe. So why is this so-called black man on this picture have a face that look like he never grew hair? Y'all see this?
Yeah.
How can this black man, is he a mixture of Mongol? You see?
Yeah.
So why when people say we are Native American, why is our hair looking like that? Or this could be a mixture of a Mongol and a so-called African, right?
Yeah.
Then I can understand that. But you notice why we don't never see dates on these pictures. That's my thing. Where is this picture coming from? You know?
Right.
They never give you a date. They just show you, and they're always black and white.
Yeah.
So it's just like the same way when they look at Israel, right? The only pictures we got, I ain't gonna say we're over here in the Western world. That's I would say, kind of. I ain't gonna say it's ancient because we see what Russia put out, but all these pictures are pictures that's been drawn, right? So why we see pictures of Native Americans in the 1800s? Well, it don't say 1800s, so I don't know where this picture coming from. So
Right.
how can we say we are descended from this man right here, right? If you don't, number one, you don't know this. I don't even know this picture real or not, but this is what they put out. But how can we be a descendant of this man? Don't look like he ever grew hair on his face.
Hmm.
Look at his face. Look at his nose, and look at he like he have no lips. Come on, man.
But you know what's funny, Brother Kadar?
Yeah.
You remember that brother I told you we met and he told us about his grandfather?
Yeah.
This is how he kind of looked.
A mixture, right?
Yeah, he didn't have no facial, but he admitted that his grandfather was African, was black.
Was black.
But this is how he looked. But he had a bald head. He ain't had no hair. He had a bald head.
No, can't grow hair, facial hair.
He had no facial hair. But he looked young. He had high cheekbones, just like that. He was cool. You know what I'm saying? And he just told us that. We was asking him. You know what I'm saying? We asked him if he was mixed with anything. He told us, yeah.
But my thing is that when you see people like this is a mixture, right? So how can you say you come from that, a mixture? You see what I'm saying? And so whenever African American, this is what the guy, the black people, the dude from Reeds where I'm from, on his page, well, he kicked me off his page. I was killing him so bad. But this is type of people they put up on his page. I always ask them, if that's your ancestors, why can't they grow hair? Because they mix with Mongols, right? And nobody never answered that.
Think about this though. You look at him, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he was to marry and have children, what direction you think he would more than likely go in?
Kids?
Huh?
Marry who? Oh.
Like if he was to choose a woman and marry, what direction he would more than likely go in?
I would say he would go back in the so-called African because the way his skin color.
Black, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. A lot of us might have some of this or may have had some of it. Like I'm
from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be myself, I would be probably the third, fourth generation from my great grandmother.
Is that your granddaddy? Yeah, I understand.
You know what, man?
Her granddaddy.
He might be somewhere down the line. Ain't no telling. But this is where I think I'm not saying none of the stuff they saying is irrelevant. This is where you can go into some of those roles and look and check your name to see, because some of your family may have assimilated into the native tribes and got land and all those types of things. We looked at that. We showed how a lot of the Negroes, how if they weren't set free, they were brought in and assimilated, and they were allowed to own land and different things like that. This is why you have a lot of our people saying my family had land, you know. My family had land. You know, my people been here. And this, you know, this is a part of the history we have to acknowledge. You know, yeah, your people got land, your family been on that land and owns that land. But, you know, how did that all come about? Right? And why is it just that particular plot of land? You see what I'm saying? Say prior to reclassification, natives were never referred to as Negroes. That's true.
Oh, they wasn't? Wow.
That's true. But you still had the Negroes, right? Because they identified natives mixed with Negroes. That's what we're gonna look at now. We kind of breaking this down. But what I'm trying to show you is, as we look at these videos, let's listen, let's pay attention to detail, because my point of contention is, are we as so-called Negro people indigenous to this land? All right. And if so, why do we have a mixture of or a difference or a separation between native and Negro and native and white?
Right.
Fair use.
Disappeared with them. In the earliest records kept by colonists and census takers, Black Indians were documented in plain sight. Colonial journals from the 1700s describe villages where Native and African people lived side by side.
Native and African people lived side by side. In the 1700s, colonial records show where Native and African people lived side by side. Remember that.
Sometimes sharing families, customs, and land. These accounts do not hesitate or hedge. They speak of Black Indians as a matter of fact. In 1790, the first U.S. Census began grouping people by color and freedom status. Even then, hedge, families, customs, and land. These accounts do not hesitate or hedge. They speak of Black Indians as a matter of fact.
All right, so he first said that colonial records from the 1700s speak of Native and Africans living side by side, sharing families and customs. And then he said, let me play it again.
These accounts do not hesitate or hedge. They speak of Black Indians as a matter of fact.
Then he said, these accounts do not hesitate or hedge. They speak of Black Indians as a matter of fact. So now, who were the Black Indians? Was it the natives or was it the Africans?
He's talking a few different ways right now. Remember, he said they live side by side. Now he's speaking of Black Indians.
Right? Where did the Black Indians come from? Let's slow down. Fair use.
In 1790, the first U.S. Census began grouping people by color and freedom status. Even then, some regional records named individuals matter of fact. In 1790, the first U.S. Census began grouping people by color and freedom status.
Y'all gonna get tired of me stopping this. He said, what?
Color and freedom status.
Hold up.
Hesitate or hedge. They speak of black Indians as a matter of fact. In 1790, the first U.S. census began grouping people by color and freedom status.
Grouping people by color and freedom status. Is that what he said?
Yep.
What color? Who? What colors are we talking about? He gonna break it down and see, but these Africans were obviously black. They acknowledged that the natives and the Africans shared customs, right?
Yeah.
Then he said the black Indians. So I'm trying to understand. Help me out, brother Fedora.
I think it's a mixture there when he say the black Indians. But let me see.
A mixture of what?
Mungos and Africans.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fair use.
Not hesitate or hedge. They speak of black Indians as a matter of fact. In 1790, the first U.S. census began grouping people by color and freedom status. Even then, some regional records named individuals as black Indian or mixed Indian with no footnotes and no explanations. In Maryland's 1776 census, surviving fragments list the first name.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app and based for
of 1776 census, surviving fragments list the first names of dozens of enslaved people, some noted in local tax records as Indian Negroes. Maryland's 1776 census, surviving fragments list the first names of dozens of enslaved people, some noted in local tax records as Indian Negroes or Negroes and Indians together. By
See that?
1776. Right.
surviving fragments list the first names of dozens of enslaved people, some noted in local tax records as Indian Negroes or Negroes and Indians together.
Indian Negroes in 1776.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would that denote? Indian Negro.
Well, I know there's another video out there showing where we was assimilating in the tribes. We was called Indians. But I think earlier he said either they mix. He said that early in that video. So I guess if you mix with black, you become black like they do in America. Could they still do that? Maybe it's what it's talking about. Indian Negroes. Negro, we know they come from Africa, Spain, and Portugal.
Right.
So why would you say Indian Negroes?
Because this was during the time when they were trying to set. Remember, they said they were separating it by color, right? So you had Negroes who were mixed with Indians, and you had whites that was mixed with Indians.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the Negro Indians denotes that these are Indians mixed with Negroes. This is where the narrative on our side of things come from, on the side of our people.
Mm-hmm.
These were and not even all of them were mixed with Indians. This is why you only have some of them saying they can claim by blood, or they have a certain percentage of the blood in them. But not all of our people can do that, because a lot of them didn't mix into the Indians. They just kind of assimilated.
Mm-hmm.
but some of them did mix.
Ralph said Dane Calloway trying to erase the transatlantic slave trade. Yep.
He pushes this rhetoric that Negroes are the Native Americans. Brother T, what's going on? Said Columbus's lie had to fit who was here and the other Americans before his time. Right. I mean, but this is the thing. Whoever was here when Columbus got here, do we as so-called Negroes, right? Do we descend from those people? Right. And why do we see in these records, whoever these people were, they obviously weren't black or dark skinned. Not these Native Americans. So was there a like brother Yanakota said, a lot of them were killed off. You know what I mean? So that had to be prior to the 1600s. We know Columbus killed a lot of them off.
Raped the women and everything.
Right. Let's look at some more of this. Fair use.
By 1835, a census of the Cherokee Nation reported that 1 in 10 citizens had African ancestry. Early federal census sheets from the 1820s citizens. 1835, a census of the Cherokee Nation reported that 1 in 10 citizens had African ancestry.
1 in 10 citizens had what ancestry, y'all? African ancestry. And the problem here, we got a problem here, y'all.
This is in the Cherokee Nation.
And these are one of the nations that black people claim Indian.
Huh. Ain't that something? That's why I said we got to slow down. Right? How are you admitting to being indigenous? Because, okay, check this out. He's admitting that there was a difference between the African and the native, right? There was a separation. So which one do we come from? Right? We're not talking about those who mix, right? We talking about those people who saying that Black Americans are not African. That's what we're talking about. Those people who saying, I looked at my family line and wasn't no Africans. Well, how far back did you look? Well, my great-great-granddad, well.
Look, no, I'm going to put a good question there. How did they know the DNA analysis when it wasn't even invented then?
Right. They'll say my great-great-granddaddy was full-blooded Creek.
Only way they can look at that because they know where we came from off slave ship. That's the only thing they can tell.
200 years after 1619. We just got to slow down, y'all. So the government only tried to trick 10% of the Cherokees that they are African. Well, it's not that they tricking them, you know. It's just that they knew. They remember it first said they divided it by skin color. You're gonna see as this goes further that, you know, there was a racial element to this. But once again, they try to separate the black part, just like when you see white people who mix with black people today. Right? It's a separation, and they talk about it. They talk about the backlash and the you know, the disrespect they get from the white side of their family. You know, a lot of them get that testimony. So it's always a negative response when it comes to the black. So I think even if there was mixing, it was so many generations. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And this is why a lot of them won't use DNA today. If you tell them to pull their DNA or get their DNA checked, they won't do it today. It's either that or it's a very, very small percentage. Right, fair use.
Or Negro. 1776 census, surviving fragments list the first names of dozens of enslaved people, some noted in local tax records as Indian Negroes or Negroes and Indians together. By 1835, a census of the Cherokee Nation reported that 1 in 10 citizens had African ancestry. Early federal census sheets from the 1820s and the 1830s.
All right, so just to address that, notice it didn't say anything. It said African ancestry. All right, they determined that by the phenotype. 1 in 10 had African ancestry.
Early federal census sheets from the 1820s and the 1830s sometimes included columns for free colored persons living in native households, entries that, in their own handwriting, confirmed the presence of Afro-Indigenous families. One census enumerator in North Carolina in 1830 wrote a single line listing Sarah as Indian, black complexion, age 34, free. These are not rumors or legends. They are the government's own words, written in ink that has not faded. The names and categories were ordinary then, as if everyone understood who lived in these borderlands. There was no controversy and no anxious correction, just a record of who was there. Before the lines were redrawn, before the labels changed, the existence of Black Indians was an administrative fact. The proof sits in the ledgers, quiet but undeniable, waiting for the moment when the story would be told differently.
So now remember, all of this is from the 1800s, 1700s census up to the 1820s. Right. Remember what we saw in the first video. He talked about the freedmen, right? What happened? A lot of the Indian tribes, and I'm gonna say this too, Brother Kadar. The 5 civilized tribes weren't the only tribes that had our people as slaves.
Whoa, more than that?
It was more than that, more than those tribes that had our people as slaves. This is why I'm saying there were many tribes of Indians, the Iroquois, and I don't really know all the names of them like that, but you know, off the top of my head, but there were many so-called Indian tribes that had our people as slaves and that hunted for our people. All right. The 5 civilized tribes are just the main tribes that, you know, they speak about.
Wow. Damn. Ain't nobody going to escape Second Baruch. 72.
And that's what I'm saying. Say 23andMe DNA testing been called in the Epstein's files concerning cloning. Be careful with those DNA testing sites. Yeah. On the cool, I haven't had my DNA tested.
You actually don't have to go to a DNA testing site. You got a doctor, they can do it there. And also, whenever you go in to get DNA tested for a kid, you can do it that way too. You really ain't got to go to a site.
FYI, I think even if there was mixing, it was so, yeah, we read. we brought
Right. That fifth, fourth generation, it's gone now.
And that's why I said a lot of them, they scared of that. They don't want to go to that DNA. It's some about that, right? Think
Yeah,
about. Go ahead. Go ahead.
you got the video on how the Jewish people over there, the Ish people, they banned DNA testing in Israel, so-called Israel. So if your DNA ain't telling somewhat truth, why would they ban DNA testing in Israel, y'all?
Yep.
That's what they did. You can't get your DNA tested unless it's by court, I believe.
Yeah. By court order. You can only get it by court order.
So they banned that DNA testing in Israel for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you I know what the reason is too. Did they
Indeed.
go? They went to My Heritage. Well, not My Heritage. They went to. It wasn't 23andMe. Where did they go? Or was it 23andMe? It might have been. A lot of them did. They found that their DNA come from Europe. And they
Yeah.
was I don't know, but it might have been 23andMe where they went. I can't remember.
I know their DNA database got hacked. And that information got released.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it proved they ain't the people.
Yep. You know, long story short, and that's what they trying to hide. But think about this, right? Another claim you'll hear a lot of indigenous people say, they'll deny the DNA angle and say that we rely on genealogy and records, right? Now think about this. Y'all remember when we showed that video of that guy going to Africa, and he was trying to see if the different tribes in Africa who was claiming to be Israelites, he looked at their customs and everything, listened to their oral traditions, and he said the evidence is there to show that, you know, there is a connection between them and the ancient Israelites. What was the final means they went by in determining if they were or not? You remember?
You talking about the Ish people?
Well, you can say them, but it was a white dude. It was a documentary.
I don't remember that. Yeah, the final where they go to tell they were.
What they did was they tested the DNA of multiple people, you know, throughout the tribe, you know, and throughout all these different tribes and areas. And they determined that their DNA did, in fact, come or originate from ancient Israel. So it's by means of the DNA.
White dude did that?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to dig that video up.
See that? So they determined that. Did the proof was the proof there? I wonder. And if the proof there was they tracing that DNA back to Esau. See what I'm saying?
Well, they already got that, you know.
Yeah.
It's just that, you know, you got to think about it. Look at the Ish people, right? What tribe do they claim to be?
Judah. They can't claim to be.
So who are the other 11? We're your other 11 brothers.
They claim it black. What they claim. So Judah's white and all 11 brothers black. They worse than 12 tribes chart.
Right. The 12 tribes chart way off.
Yeah.
The Incas and all that should be black. Fair use. Okay.
Archives. It's in the ledgers, quiet but undeniable, waiting for the moment when the story would be told differently. Open the catalogs of America's vast archives, and the silence is louder than any denial. Search for photographs labeled Black Indian or Afro-Indigenous, and the results come back nearly empty. The records are not just missing, they were never cataloged, never preserved under those names. The void is not accidental. It is a kind of evidence in itself, a blank space where thousands of lives and families should be. Museums hold rows of portraits, but the faces are sorted by what someone else decided to see: Negro, Indian, colored, rarely both. Census records after the 1840s dropped the language of Black Indian that was once ordinary.
Census records after the 1840s. What happened during that time?
1840s?
Yeah, what happened during that time? A lot of the civilized tribes were trying to remove a lot of the Negroes from the tribes.
Wow.
But these Negroes were of African descent.
Wow.
They also say that the DNA test has a notice label that says, for entertainment purposes only, some of our people are just slow. Well, Brother Kadar, I guess you was being entertained, my brother.
Why you say that?
Because what your DNA say?
One thing about it is that the reason when people look at DNA like that, in that case, you go do DNA, if you are the father of that child, you got to use the same method. Then it's the same thing. I don't get it.
Yep.
If you go test, if somebody put a child on you, right? You the father, so it's testing your haplogroup. What is your haplogroup? Do that son have the same haplogroup that you got? This is how to tell you if you're the father. I don't get it. So in that case, people can say, a woman can say, this is your son, and you know, good when you ain't slept with that woman, and you go up there and say, I don't want to take DNA test because you don't believe in the DNA, then you want to pay child. Because they got to see if that haplogroup matches, or, you know, same way with when you look at the girl, right? They do autosomal, right? Because, yeah, they do autosomal with the woman. Because even her, she had to do get her brother that's supposed to have the same daddy that she got to tell that's her daddy. That's crazy, man.
Yep. I mean,
somebody can throw a child on you, and you say, "Well, I don't believe in DNA." You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Because if you don't believe in DNA, you should tell them you don't believe in DNA tests because you know this and that. You should tell them that.
yeah, as you get tested, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you this: if you get a DNA test, can you conceal your race?
With the DNA test?
Yeah.
Yeah. What you mean conceal your race? Tell what you are.
Like as you filling out the information and everything, can you?
Oh yeah.
Can you not put what race you are just to test?
Yeah. You can do that. You can say I don't want to put it down. It ain't a must because all they doing is check your autosomal when they're doing it. So like me and my son, I did DNA test on them and I did a facial DNA test. Right? The facial DNA test, my son got 82% of my face. 82% of my face. And then with the DNA test, they're gonna check your autosomal, right? I mean, they're gonna check autosomal and your DNA haplogroup. If your son, say like somebody's supposed to be your kid, right? My DNA haplogroup is E1B1A, and his DNA haplogroup come out to be DNAG. That ain't my son. so, but if you don't believe in DNA, you should tell the judge, I don't believe in DNA, man. See,
yeah.
because remember, the Jews, the Ish people, they banned DNA testing. Why would they ban DNA testing if it's not truthful? Why? They should use that for their advantage, right? They banned it. Mm-hmm.
That should be the main thing that's working to their advantage.
Yeah, they banned it. So.
Brother T, you the pappy, man.
Shalom, man. Yeah, I'm the pappy.
DNA, what's going on, bro?
No, man. Just got to building this little TP.
The TP.
Yeah, get the little fire going. Make it rain out here.
It's raining, man.
It's a double wide TP.
Yeah.
A double TP.
I tell you this: if you don't blend DNA, your tail gets sick on your bed, and you need some extra blood. They always tell you. Why do they tell you go to your family then? You see that?
Right.
It's so much that I can bring out by DNA. 'Cause why they tell you? Won't they just say, "Oh, we can find somebody to give you blood"? Well, no, they tell you go to your family member. Why they do that? Even with a kidney, what they tell you? Try to go to your family member. So if that stuff is not working to our advantage, why did they do that? Why don't they just say, "Oh, we got a kidney. Well, don't worry about it. You have to find a certain kidney that match yours." Come on, man. It's stuff.
Hey, Kadar,
Yeah.
I asked a person that one time. I said, you said, I'm like, okay, so you say you don't believe in the rain. It's like, no. I said, all right. I said, most high forbid, but if somebody close to you got, well, I say delete it, and the police come to you and say, hey, we know who it is. We don't found their blood. We got a blood sample of who it was. What you gonna tell them? You know what I'm saying? Oh, don't worry about it. I don't believe in it. Believe in that. It's just for entertainment purposes. We'll find out who got rid of my person. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's so people slow, bro. Because I went read it, and it didn't mean that a DNA test is not legit to tell you who you are and where you're from. They were just saying that you can't use it for like illnesses or something like that. It wouldn't be legit for that.
Hmm.
Something along
Somebody say DNA tests are legit. They are accurate. See, I know people who found long lost family through it. And I can say the same thing,
Yeah. Well, you know what? That alone kills it because if you can find family members through DNA tests, right? And you can. So why would people go against? You got people like camp guys saying, "Oh, now listen to this, y'all. Listen how stupid this sounds. They did DNA tests on the dog, and they said the DNA come from Africa." And I'd be like, "Well, so
Hmm.
they did DNA tests on the lizard. So he comes from the Middle East.
Mhm.
So what's wrong with that, y'all? Where
Yeah.
most of the animals come from? These people, man, I'm telling you.
that.
Yeah,
Like they
you know,
say
yeah. I'm
native
like,
habitat.
it. What they telling us that's accurate. It makes sense, don't it? Come on, man.
Mhm.
I
You do a
thought
DNA test on a line and tell me he come from America, now you may have problems.
There's some drugs involved in.
Now you can say something. Every time they say something,
Mhm.
the animals are come from near Africa. I'm like, so what? Oh, that's why I don't believe it. That's well, why not? All the animals come from Africa. What does it matter? These
yeah,
people crazy, man.
I thought, and I could be corrected on this. I thought all living things had somewhat of a genetic code,
They
or
do.
or a better way of putting it, everything can be traced back to something,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
And so even with fruits and vegetables, you got certain fruits and vegetables that's indigenous to certain regions, certain areas. You know what I mean? Certain, and how much more would it be with people? You know?
Hey, brother E, but just like okay, black people here in America, we love fried okra, right?
Yeah.
Okra originates in West Africa. That's where it came from.
Mm.
Look at that right here, what Shiri put up. Now that right there, that's what I'm saying. If you can find people, siblings and cousins through the DNA, why do I'm gonna tell you why black people coming to this truth go against DNA because they scared that DNA ain't gonna say certain things. Don't be scared, y'all. Um, I was told that we had Indian in our blood. You think I worried about that? I went right and did my DNA because I wasn't worried about that. If we did, so what? It's 5, 6 generations down the line. I could care less. But found out we didn't. So, but what it is that a lot of black people are scared when it comes to DNA because suppose I'm this and suppose I'm that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about what you heard your ancestors told you because they don't know. They don't know. They told you Jesus was white too, didn't
Yeah,
they? They don't know.
yeah. And they got mad at you when you told them he was black.
Hmm. And another reason they get upset about or they scared of it, bruh, is because they know good and damn well it ain't a black person alive that's ever took a DNA test and they was 100% Indigenous American. That's the main reason they won't do
Mm.
It said 100%. We say, brother
it.
T.
Yeah, yeah. I said they know that their DNA is not gonna be 100. I'm saying the ones that's like, oh, I'm Indigenous. Our people
They
been here
ain't
for
gonna even
thousands
have
of years.
Disney in the DNA.
So they know that their DNA is not gonna say that they're 100% Native American. They know that.
And the
Yeah.
thing is,
You
what's
know,
that guy?
that's why they live in the
Hey,
land.
hey,
Fella?
y'all, hold on, y'all chop it up right quick. I'm gonna step away for a sec. I'll be right back.
Look, what's that guy? Walker fella, right? He
Yeah,
says has no
Rockefeller.
African blood in him. You see how big his lips and nose is? You see the mixture of a African and a Mungo don't look nothing like Walker fella, whatever his name is. Nothing like him.
Hmm.
That dude looks straight
Right.
out of Africa. And I guarantee you he didn't do his DNA. He's just saying that. And the thing is, this is sad when black people are denying their own heritage because of somebody told them that. And they can't, they don't believe in the Bible. That's what I'm saying. They don't believe in the Bible.
Mm-mm.
You better
Yeah,
hope
now,
you're
now that's
from Africa, is what I tell them. They don't
and
believe. Go ahead.
I heard a preacher from Africa say he was talking about this, and he said the ones in America who deny that they're us, the people. He said you never know. They could be of Japhet. We
They could be who?
of Japhet.
Yeah. Because your fats definitely ain't pale skin. Them people's a hybrid. I was just telling
Hmm.
actually I was telling my girl this weekend. She was asking me about that. She said, well, did most high make white people? I said, no, that's a hybrid. I said, wasn't nobody walking around here with pink skin showing their veins back in the day. I said it's a hybrid. You got to go back to Genesis 36. Esau mixed with the Horites. And then and when you get to Joshua 64, you see Esau's grandson subduing all of Europe. I said, but before that, you see all black people in Europe. All of a sudden, what happened to them, y'all? What happened to the black people? You notice that? You see us, they got statues of black people that ruled Europe. What happened to them? Esau's grandson, I'm telling you. So, and
All
then
them
you
ancient
see
paintings and stuff.
yeah, he subdued all of them, had kids and mixed them. Then you see Esau, then you see Rome, well, it was Shittim, I say Rome, defeated Edom, and they became one people till this day. So Edom got carried out of who? On Mount Syria. That's right, Mount Syria. And they became one people to this day. I said they are hybrid. They are not. The Most High didn't make them. They hybrid. I said, and that's why I asked. I told her this. I said, why you think the Most High will make a people that the sun can kill when the sun brings life to the earth? That was it right there. Yeah, okay. So you gotta understand, man. Come on, the sun bring us life. That's why is the
Yep.
sun giving us vitamin D and life, but killing them? Come on, man. It's simple.
Get all kind of nutrients from the sun. Source of vitamin D. You know, you ever do the grounding thing? It have you feeling some type of way. Just go outside, stand in the sun, in the grass with your shoes off. It's like you being a battery being charged up, man.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
When we was young,
beautiful.
man, let me tell you something. We used to play basketball, and sometimes we didn't play. We played on the dirt court. Man, we
Hmm.
get use that dirt court. We can't even feel the rocks are stumping out there. We can't even feel it.
Yep.
Yeah. But the thing is with them jokers, man, if the sun kills you, why you think them Ish people got they sacking behind Australian sun council? Sacking behind
Exactly.
Australia. And the only reason they sacking because they wear all that clothing, they wouldn't wear that, they wouldn't be probably be first.
And if you look at how that we brought this up a long time ago, how that scientist when he found those skulls in Egypt, the real
Yeah.
Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
and he was trying to match them to the Israeli skull. He couldn't do it. It only matched ours.
Yeah.
Because he
He
looked
really,
all over the world. He
they
went to
would never end.
everybody.
But the Negroes
Yeah.
was enslaved. He said the Negroes was enslaved by the Egypt. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hold up.
I would love to get any of these suckers on here and debate who the people are. That's easy.
Mhm.
That's easy.
Thought you was through debating.
Yeah. Well, man, you can't get nobody to debate. I really, online, they so scared. But debate who the people are. You notice we never had that type of debate. Y'all, you notice that?
Yeah.
Don't nobody debate that.
Run that back. See, this is the thing. We are Israel, right? And we only saying Africa because we identifying with our true migration pattern. Where our people came from, where they was taken from. You feel me? Turbo, what's going on? Hey, let me ask y'all this. Have y'all heard this one? And I'm gonna put the video back up in a minute. But have y'all heard this one? They'll say black natives was taken from America to Africa.
Yeah. Sound like Big Judah.
He says that.
He says for real.
He said they was taken around the world and we forgot this land. That's what he said. Dude, crazy.
What?
Yeah, he said we was taken from this land around the world. Man, it died. I said, man, then brought back. That's what he said. That's a messed up term because we still scattered all over the world. He said we was taken around the world, brought back.
Okay.
But then you know what? If that's the case, right?
Yeah.
That means that there should be people in Africa and people around the world who have DNA that trace back to America.
Exactly right. Well, good word that don't happen. That don't happen.
Right.
You can tell by our big lips and noses. Come on, man. Some of these sisters' lips out here are real big. Brothers' lip big. I know I got big lips. Everybody says, come on, man.
They call you a monkey, but you ain't got the monkey lips. So.
Yeah.
Fair use, y'all. Let's get. He said, "What? What'd you say, T?"
I said they got them Pringle thin lips.
Cracker lips.
For real.
Hold up, before you put it there, look what Miss, there you go. Look what this Doctor was kidnapped from Maryland, put on boat and left there in Mississippi River.
Damn.
Come on, man. Some things you gotta use common sense, man. Come on now.
That's cold. And what happened after that? Damn, that's cold. But we making the connections, y'all. Right? The natives had the Negroes in slavery. The natives then freed the Negroes and allowed them to assimilate, right? The natives also mixed with the white people. They mixed with the Negroes as well. So who were these Negroes, right? We see that the Negroes were of African descent, right? The natives were of what descent? Because if our people are claiming to be black natives, at what point does the history come into play? Because the only black natives that we see, according to what we bringing out, are the ones that assimilated and were allowed citizenship into these tribes, right? They began to identify as natives. They were adopted into the tribes, right? And then at some point, the government separated them from the natives, and this is what we're talking about when they talk about how the natives were then called Negroes, right? How they changed to Negroes. Fair use.
Tribal roles, land deeds, and government files begin to split people into new categories, erasing the overlap that had always existed in daily life. The absence of labeled footage is not a gap in history. It is the result of deliberate choices. Archivists, census takers, and clerks were told what to write and what not to write. As laws hardened, the paperwork began to do the work of erasure. Entire communities were renamed or left out, their stories scattered across ledgers under different labels. The silence in the archives is not a mystery. It is the mark of a system that decided some identities were too inconvenient to record. The missing images, the empty search results, the faded columns, these are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of a policy that made Black Indian identity disappear with a pen and a file box. This is how a people can be erased, not from the land, but from the memory of the nation.
Y'all got any thoughts?
This is how the people identity was erased from the land, what he said, right?
Yeah. So if I can sum this up so far, right? The slaves were on the plantations. Some escaped from the plantations, and they practically fell into Indian land, Indian territory, Indian hands. They became slaves to the Indians, right? Later on, the Indians were forced to assimilate those Negroes into their tribes. So those Negroes who were Indian Negroes, right, as they were identified in the rolls, right, they became one with those tribes. They were able to get land. Basically, they became identified as whatever tribe they were under. The government later on forced those tribes to separate, basically. And this is what you're seeing now, the roles where they started to separate the Negro Indians from those tribes, or erase them from those roles as a means to take away land and things like that from them. That is a true part of it. Some of them still were able to maintain access to land. Right, that's what you probably have today. But these were all people of Negroid descent, and maybe, down the line the land still passes down. But these are all people of African descent. Y'all got anything to add to that?
Nah, you'll see the more
All
of
right.
this video. Go ahead.
1887, Congress passed the Dawes Act, a law that would change the fate of indigenous nations across the United States. The Dawes Act ordered that communal tribal lands be divided into individual plots, but it also demanded a new kind of record keeping. Every person entitled to land had to be listed by name on an official roll. 11 years later, the Curtis Act of 1898 stripped away the last protections for tribal governments and forced the 5 tribes of Indian Territory, Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole to submit to federal enrollment. The Dawes Commission set up
It's so
and Seminole to submit to federal enrollment. The Dawes Commission, set up to carry out this process, invented a system of categories that would decide the future of every applicant. There was the BY Blood roll, reserved for those the commission accepted as native by lineage. There was the Freedmen roll, for people of African descent who had once been enslaved by tribal citizens or who traced their roots to Black Indian families. There were also rolls for intermarried whites, adopted citizens, and denied cases.
All right, so did y'all pick that up?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now,
Wow.
you know the whole video, what you playing, right? You notice the whole time it's a separation between Negroes and Indians. You notice that?
Yeah, that's
Unless
what I'm
you
trying to show.
trace, yeah. They say unless you trace your lineage back to them, right? When you trace your lineage back to them, I mean, that's why I say if any of our brothers and sisters on here got Indian blood, it's so far back, it's probably blended out. And so when you go to get the traits, it's just like the people, that, you know, our great grandmother raped by a white man. And some of us can trace it back to that. But 4 or 5 generations back, come on, man. You Israel. And I think that's what happened to Tell Ministry, but they panicked.
Yep.
They panicked. They start talking junk about blood.
Yep.
They panicked.
Mm.
Like, dude, you Israelites, if your blood go back 3 or 4 generations, man, they panic.
Look at this comment right here.
That's true.
This is what we showed yesterday. How they pretty much at some point they started to look at the Negroes as intruders.
Yep.
And they started to form commissions to try to separate them from the tribes because they were of Negroid descent or African descent. Y'all see what I'm saying?
Wow.
Now, it's telling you how these roles were divided. It said they were subject to federal the federal role or whatever, how they wanted to break it down. You had the natives who were the natives who were by blood or by lineage, right?
Yeah.
You had the freedmen who consisted of the Africans descendants and those who identified with Black Indians. Remember who the Black Indians were?
Yep.
They were the mixture between the Negroes and the Indians.
Uh-huh.
Right. And then you had the whites that was mixed with the Indians. Those were the 3 categories. We'll run it back. Fair use.
Categories that would decide the future of every applicant. There was the BY Blood roll, reserved for those the commission accepted as native by lineage. There was the Freedmen roll, for people of African descent who had once been enslaved by tribal citizens or who traced their roots to Black Indian families. There were also rolls for intermarried whites, adopted citizens, and denied cases. The labels were not just words. They determined who would receive land, who would be recognized as a tribal citizen, and who would be left out. Applicants sat before examiners, answering questions about family, ancestry, and community. The commission had the power to decide often with little evidence which role a person belonged on. For many Afro-Indigenous families, the outcome was already written. Even with clear ties to the tribe, they were placed on the freedmen roll, separated from relatives listed as BI blood. This paperwork split families, erased shared history, and locked generations into categories that could not be changed.
So he's saying that a lot of the Negroes were separated from family members who identified as by blood. Right. Let's park right there for a second. What do y'all think that's saying?
Was identified. It's a lot of what was identified by blood.
He said that a lot of the, when they started to separate, basically those three categories determined how they were going to divide land, who they were going to allow access to land. And you had a lot of them who, of the Negroes who were pretty much left out and separated from the rolls, even though they identified as family members of other people who identified as by blood. So in other words, you identify as by blood and you on the roll, but I get separated from you. You and me related, but I get separated from the roll, but you and me related, but you identify as by blood.
Uh-huh.
They saying that's what was happening.
Hold up. How can they identify by blood, right? Now, this is the thing. You notice they saying blood, right? Is that what they say? So these are African black people over here claiming to say they Native American. And these Cherokee, look what it says, Cherokees by blood. So why don't they do the blood test then? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
These claim that they are not Israel. Well, some of them claim they're Israelites, but they claim they're Indians. And Cherokee it says they identified by blood. So won't they do the blood work then? Dane Calloway tried to say his great granddaddy was an Indian chief. Well, do your blood work to prove that. I can say that. Everybody on this panel can say that. We don't know is that true or not.
And once again, we have to consider too the fact that once they allowed black people to, or once they allowed their slaves rather to assimilate, they were fully identified as whatever tribes they was under. They were adopted into those tribes. They intermingled into those tribes. So by virtue of that, they identified as one with those tribes. It was one. Well, we're gonna look at, I think, a video. One brother was saying that the Cherokees made a pact with the Negroes, saying that basically y'all gonna always be one with us. We're gonna always be one with y'all. Right, that's what he was saying. They made a pact. The Cherokees made a pact with the Negroes. So this by blood, that's, we have to be able to understand that, put it in perspective. Where does that come from? Seeing that we see where the Negroes come from.
Erase shared history and lock generations into categories that could not be changed. The Dawes and Curtis Acts turned identity into administration, a system where a check mark on a form could erase a nation's memory. John Horse was born in Spanish Florida, the son of an enslaved African woman and a Seminole father, at a time when freedom was always in question. He became the leader of the Black Seminoles, a people who found themselves caught between three worlds.
Wow.
Go ahead, Fedora.
I was saying, wow. Black mother and a father Seminole.
Right.
So
now, what is a Seminole? Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
What's a Seminole?
Yeah.
Well, think about it when you research. it could be all different type of native tribes mixed together. So what is the Seminole? What is that saying? You got all different tribes mixed together, and even blacks. The joint was called Seminole. So when he said he was, uh, his daddy was a Seminole, his mother black. What tribe was that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like saying Gentile. There you go. Well, what tribe is that in the Seminole? Because Seminole was all mixed up tribe.
Seminole. Let me see. It's when I look it up on my phone, it give me sort of a shorter response. It says, let me see, migrate members of several groups. Let me see. Let me do this. Seminole. Yeah. All right, so watch this. Brother T, you good?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
You missed yesterday, man. Or not yesterday, the other day.
The other day, yeah.
What is a
I
black
ain't get no
man?
notification on that.
I sent you an email too. I don't know what this thing be doing, but Black Seminoles are a distinct ethnic group formed from escaped enslaved Africans and free black individuals who allied with the Seminole tribes in Florida. Historical background: originating in the late 17th century, they fled plantations in the southern colonies and joined the Seminoles in Spanish Florida. Their history includes a continuous struggle against enslavement and colonization, particularly during the Seminole Wars. The Black Seminoles are particularly descendants of the Seminole people, free Africans, and escaped slaves, creating a unique cultural identity that blends Native American and African heritage. They established maroon settlements and fought to preserve their freedom, leading to migrations across North America and into Mexico. What y'all think about that?
The thing about it, they never tell you what the Seminole is, really. They talking about blacks right here, right?
Yeah.
But is anything, let me see, what is a Seminole Indian? You see what I'm saying? But remember that what you just read says she had a Seminole Indian father and a black one. So it's not really telling you what it's, they just say, we know that the blacks mixed in with them and joined them, right?
Okay.
Remember North American people, Creek, Confederate, notice to resisting, and it's not really telling you because when I did research, the Seminoles was a mixture of all different Indian tribes coming together, and the blacks. Yeah.
Well, let's look at some of this. It's a member of a North American people of the Creek Confederacy, noted for resistance in the 19th century to encroachment on their land in Georgia, Florida. Many were settled in Oklahoma, either of the Muskogean language, usually Creek, spoken by the Seminole, relating to the Seminole, or their language. Let me see. What is the meaning of Seminole? Can y'all see that? Yeah. Let's look at this. The meaning. This is what is the meaning of Seminole. The term Seminole refers to a group of indigenous peoples of North America. The Seminoles are members of several groups of indigenous people who migrated to Florida from Georgia and Alabama during the 18th and 19th centuries. Their descendants primarily reside in southern Florida and Oklahoma. The name Seminole is believed to derive from the Creek word Seminole, meaning separatist or runaway. This reflects their history of resistance against removal by the U.S. government, particularly during the Seminole Wars. Today, the Seminole people are recognized through 3 federally recognized tribes: the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, the Seminole Tribe of Florida, and the Muskogee Tribe of Indians of Florida.
So you see why I asked that question when you read that article?
Yeah.
It was a black mother Seminole army. What Indian tribe? You see,
Right.
there's several different groups, right? So on the 12 tribes chart, it got the Seminole Indians, and you got a whole lot of different groups in there. What in the world is going on with these guys?
Yeah. So the Seminoles were basically a mixture of indigenous tribes. But when you look up what is the meaning of black Seminole, well, didn't give me, hold on. What is the right? So the Seminoles are distinct, like a mixture of indigenous tribes, but the black Seminoles are a distinct ethnic group formed from escaped enslaved Africans and freed black individuals who allied with the Seminole tribes in Florida.
Exactly. So do you still got that video? And what happened in 1993 when the blacks tried to get that money, and they openly said we know our blood comes from Africa, but we joined them when they came to Oklahoma. Remember the video when the black woman had the hair? You can tell she had a mixture, but on down the line because she looked fully black, but she did have the hair. You remember that? What I'm talking about? And this is what I'm saying. These so-called native blacks want to be native black so bad. They need to look at this stuff and read this stuff. How you look what it says, and then they're gonna, of course, they're gonna say, "Well, I don't believe it," but this right here is telling you that black people joined them. Black people from Africa that escaped. And yeah, I would have joined them too. But what happened when we got to Oklahoma? We became separate. Y'all notice in every documentation you can pull it up, even what you did pulling it tonight, we are separate. Why is always black or Negroes in everything? You notice we separate, even in America, even in South America, around the world, we always separate because we're separate people. That's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah. It even talked about when they went through that Trail of Tears. It talked about how as soon as they got over to Oklahoma, they put the slaves to work.
Yeah, that's Cliff. Cliff's talking about, boy, I tell you, he don't even know no history, say Johnson Trail of Tears.
Man. So let's look at some more of this. It's really what we're doing is just putting it all in perspective with our people saying we natives and we indigenous. Where does this all stem from? Fair use.
Was born in Spanish Florida, the son of an enslaved African woman and a Seminole father, at a time when freedom was always in question. He became the leader of the Black Seminoles, a people who found themselves caught between 3 worlds: Native, African, and the rising white republic that wanted neither. During the Second Seminole War in the 1830s, John Horse stood before U.S. generals and Seminole chiefs.
you just said it's always a separation, right?
Always separation.
So the black Seminoles was trapped between, the natives, right? Their own identity and is trying to establish themselves and the rising white republic who didn't want neither. Right?
Yep.
Excuse me. Brother T, what you think? Fair use, for real. We under that.
Yeah. It's just I'm not seeing anything where where a person us African descent can say, oh, this traces me back to this to indigenous people, what I'm saying, of this land, because everything you said I'm saying so far is just by word of mouth or a pact or whatever. It's just by word, it's not by blood. And it's strange, like I said, well, earlier when they were saying that it was by blood, and how did they determine that without DNA? The DNA wasn't, DNA results wasn't around at that time. That's crazy.
I seen a dude with he had an ID card. And what it was like a tribal citizenship card. Right. And he flashed it up on the screen. And he uses it to advertise his business and everything. His tribal citizenship card. And I'm looking at it, it got his picture on it and everything, the details, the tribe. I think he's like Muskogee Creek is what he claims to be. And I'm looking at the bottom of it, and I notice it's an expiration date. And I thought to myself, damn, once that expires, who do you report to renew it?
Exactly. And when it expires, what do you go back to default setting?
I'm sure it's something I don't know, but maybe they got their own registration and means of doing that. But once again, once it expires, what does that mean? And
He got to go get it renewed, like license. Tell you he's a Native American. It's stupid.
I said, damn. The white man even control that.
That's what I'm saying. Like when it run out, you go back to default setting. Be like, well, my license expired. I'm back to Negro now.
That's his driver's license.
You can't tell me the white man ain't behind that, controlling that.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Straight up.
Like, come on, man. That's called tracking. That's why we have IDs.
Like I said, some things are common sense, y'all. No.
Freedom was always in question. He became the leader of the Black Seminoles, a people who found themselves caught between three worlds, Native, African, and the rising white republic that wanted neither. During the Second Seminole War in the 1830s, John Horse stood before U.S. generals and Seminole chiefs alike, demanding liberty not just for himself, but for hundreds of Black families who had lived alongside the Seminole for generations. He spoke through.
Yeah, I already know what I'm finna say.
Who is this?
Yeah, I already know what I'm finna say. right? Now, how many of y'all, if you look in your photos, right, your family photos, you know, some of y'all probably got family photos that probably go back to the 70s and stuff like that, right? What year would y'all say this is from? Just a rough estimate.
Early 1900s.
Early 1900s. Look at the turtleneck, right?
Yeah, what they trying to say? They black people or something, right? Hope not.
That's what he's talking about.
Look at these people. These people, come on.
1890. Okay, I'll give you 1890. I say this is probably about 1940. I say this is about 1940.
Ain't no black people. Please. It's like it look like Asians. They look like me.
Nah, look, this dude right here, he probably look like Brother T. Brother T,
That's my cousin.
see? Are these the Native Americans? Do y'all think these are the Native Americans that because it's talking about the Seminoles and how our people blended in with the Seminoles. Are these the Seminoles?
Exactly.
Let's get some context.
African, and the rising white republic that wanted neither. During the Second Seminole War in the 1830s, John Horse stood before U.S. generals and Seminole chiefs alike, demanding liberty not just for himself, but for hundreds of black families who had lived alongside the Seminole for generations. He spoke 3 languages, fought.
He said hundreds of black families, right? And then look at the family they show. Y'all see that?
These guys are trip.
Hundreds of black families. Y'all see that? Look at where Run That Back say. So that's Josiah cousin. Say them Josiah relatives. Boy, if them Josiah relatives, you know what? Josiah gotta be mixed. Them his relatives. Look, Josiah is a Negro indeed, boy. Ain't no Gentile in him. Say, run that back. Yeah, I thought Josiah would have came on. But yeah. Hundreds of black families, Brother Kadar, and this is what they show.
Look at this. Look at this. This is the Native American. That's the ancestor right there. That's the ancestor.
Yeah. Look at his helmet. He got his horns sticking out with like a wolf skull or something, or a buffalo skull or something. And he got the feathers. People don't know that all of this come from the spirits that they worship. Just like them Africans, a lot of them African people, how they mutilate their bodies and do stuff and dress in certain type of ways. It's to look like the spirits they worship. Look like Lone Wolf. Look, you know what this really look like? This kind of look like one of them Them old kung fu movies. You know what I'm saying? Because you had them Chinese people used to dress like this. And they start fighting. Fair use.
Finding liberty not just for himself, but for hundreds of black families who had lived alongside the Seminole for generations. He spoke 3 languages, fought in 2 armies, and crossed 3 countries to keep his people from being dragged back into slavery. In 1849, after years of broken promises and threats from Creek slave raiders, John Horse led nearly 100 black Seminoles out of Indian territory. Their destination was Mexico, where slavery was outlawed. There, the Mexican government granted them land in exchange for military service. For a time, they found safety, but the struggle never ended. Even in exile, John Horse wrote letters and sent petitions asking the U.S. government to recognize the black Seminoles as rightful members of the nation they had fought beside and bled for. The bureaucracy never answered. On paper, the black Seminoles were listed as Negroes, runaways, or freedmen, never as Seminole.
Y'all see that? So they recorded only as Negro or freedmen. Seminole identity left off the rolls. So this is where you get a lot of our people saying that a lot of our people were reclassified. That's where that comes from. They were reclassified. They went from slaves to assimilating. Now remember, not all Negroes fled from the plantations.
Yep, right.
So the ones that did, quite naturally, wouldn't identify any longer with being a slave. And that happens often. A lot of our people now don't identify with Africa. You try to tell our people who, you know, think they know the truth or think they know something that we are the true people of the Bible, and they won't identify with that.
Yeah, they go against it. It's sad, man. They go against it. But look, brother, I'm ready to get off here. I got to get up really early.
Okay. Yeah, we're about to shut it down soon anyway, too. All right. Fair use.
As Negroes, runaways, or freedmen, never as Seminole. When the Dawes Commission arrived decades later to divide up tribal land, John Horse had already died in Mexico. But his descendants and those he led were placed on the freedmen rolls and stripped of tribal identity and land rights. For John Horse, the fight was always against erasure by paperwork. His victories lived in memory and in the courage of his people, but the files told a different story. The harm was not just in what was denied, but in how a nation could erase a leader and his people with the stroke of a pen. That was bureaucratic erasure, quiet and final on paper. Oil pooled beneath the red dirt of Oklahoma, and for a brief moment, black families who had survived the Dawes paperwork found themselves holding deeds to land no one expected to be valuable. Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street, rose from these allotments, built by the hands of Cherokee and Creek freedmen.
I want y'all to look at these photos. Now it's going to go into, because once again, there were certain of our people who were able to accumulate land and obtain the land, right? And with that, they were able to build cities and different things. So the history of our people mixing with the Native Americans, it's a vast history, and it's one that deserves recognition, but it's also one that deserves proper context, right? Who are these people on the screen right here? right? And if we're talking about black natives or our people being natives, what would these people have to do with the context of that? That is what he's talking about, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Brother T, you got it, people in your family look like that?
No, sir. Not nobody.
What about y'all in the chat? Let me know. See, a lot of people might say, like, look at this man right here in the middle, right? It look like those might be his two wives. Okay, let's just say that those is two wives. But you have a lot of people say, well, my great grandfather was chief such and such, and they'll show you a picture that look like this. And you'll look at them and they'll look like a regular Negro. Right? Look at them in the chat. They say, nah, they ain't nobody in their family looking like that. Right. They might say my great grandfather was chief such and such, and they'll show you a picture look like this. And it might be some aspect of truth to that. But how would that be? See? How would this, if you claim you had Native American in your family and your great grandfather was this man right here, how would that be? If you look, especially if you looking like me or you.
Right.
That ain't my kin. Yeah, it is, Jabroni. That's your family, man. Say Amir Israel is questionable. Nah, look at Amir, man. Look. He said they look like Eskimos. But these are the people who had our people enslaved, y'all. These are the people who our people mixed in with. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right? If they can show you, like, this is what I don't get, like with Dane Calloway, right? I seen a video where he showed a picture of his great grandfather, and his grandfather was an Indian chief. And let's just say he looked along, his great grandfather looked along the lines of something like this. He didn't look anything like him. That's a dead giveaway, right? If you telling me your great grandfather looked like this, but now you look at him, right? He got a full beard, right? Got all these Negro features. That's a dead giveaway. How can you claim to be full-blooded anything, full-blooded whatever, Indian or whatever? No mixture of African blood whatsoever. That's a dead giveaway. If you showing me that this man right here is your great grandfather. Now we leaving all the common sense out the window. Whose great grandfather in the chat right now look like this, and you are an Israelite, a Negro Israelite?
100% too. No mixture. That's crazy. That's
So delusional,
really.
Say what?
I said I consider that delusional, man, because you tripping. How in the world could you go from basically one species to the other? But that's a Neanderthal, through and through.
He said that's a Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Man, he talking about Negroes. He talking about Black Wall Street and all these different things. But then look at the pictures he's showing.
Moment, Black families who had survived the Dawes paperwork found themselves holding deeds to land no one expected to be valuable. Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street, rose from these allotments, built by the hands of Cherokee and Creek freedmen, their children, and their grandchildren. In 1921, that wealth became a target. Over 2 days, white mobs set fire to 35 city blocks, burning homes, businesses, and churches to the ground. Between 100 and 300 men, women, and children were killed. The records of ownership, deeds, tribal allotment papers vanished in the flames, along with proof of generational wealth. Paper erasure had prepared the ground. When violence came, there was nothing left to protect those whose existence had already been written out. For some, the loss was not just land or money, but the last trace of who they were supposed to be. Identity is still measured, counted, and challenged today. In the 2020 census, thousands of people who claim both Black and Native ancestry were missed or forced to choose one box, leaving whole families invisible on paper. Laws and tribal constitutions still use Dawes-era categories, dividing descendants of freedmen from those listed by blood. Marilyn Vann, a Cherokee freedman descendant, spent decades fighting in federal court to restore citizenship for families like hers. In 2017, a judge ruled that the Cherokee Nation must honor the 1866 Treaty Rights of Freedmen, but the struggle continues. DNA tests offer answers for some, but not everyone's story fits a lab result. Oral history, family Bibles, and memories still carry what documents tried to erase. 1866 Treaty Rights of Freedmen, but the struggle continues. DNA tests offer answers for some, but not everyone's story fits a lab result.
Did y'all hear what he just said? DNA tells the story for some, but not everybody's story fits a lab result. But if you claim to be full-blooded, why would that be an issue? Shouldn't the lab results show that?
It's got a master claim.
And the thing about it, people will say that the so-called Native Americans now, they come from Siberia and East Asia and all that, right?
Right.
Well, guess what? Their DNA shows that.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to test their DNA, it shows that they come from East Asia and different parts of Asia and all that. I showed a video before where Native Americans was getting their blood traced, and it showed that Mexicans and Native Americans getting their blood traced. It shows that they come from those areas. DNA. So why would the DNA be he said it works for some, but not everybody's story fits a lab result. Is that supposed to excuse? Is that supposed to be a pass for the fact that the most important aspect of proof does not line up?
Yes.
You know, like I said, the Native Americans, you look at their DNA and they come from Siberia and East Asia. Well, their DNA shows that. I think that's strange, man. You know, that's like, you know, like Kadar said, you know, the DNA, somebody try to pin a baby on you, right? And now all of a sudden now you're trying to say the DNA basically is a no-go. It's not, not everybody's story fits a lab result. It's about records, it's about genealogy. Well, part of going into genealogy is DNA. Right? You see somebody's name on something, and the next step to solidify the connection is the DNA analysis. A lot of people have seen names on stuff, and once the DNA test was done, you realize you're not really related to that person. So that's important. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, man, it's so many scenarios that you can look at that shows you how vital the DNA testing is. There's so many scenarios, man. Even down to something, just straight wild. Say if you had a descendant that was a billionaire that didn't have nobody inherit the fortune, and the only way you could get it is you had to show that you was a blood descendant. You know what I'm saying? With DNA testing, you know what I'm saying? Like it wouldn't be irrelevant at that
Right.
They'll be, banging on the door trying to get one.
That would be all,
so many scenarios, bro.
Especially if that's the only way to determine it.
Right. Like, the only way you getting these billions of dollars, you got to prove with your DNA that you are blood relative to this person who just passed you, and you can inherit their fortune. Man, them DNA, man. All right. You done had a T-shirt made. I love my DNA.
I'm just saying, we gotta look at this kind of stuff. Now at the end of everything that determines it, that's irrelevant. Not everybody's story fits a lab result. So everything else does.
Everything.
Yeah.
1866 Treaty Rights of Freedmen, but the struggle continues. DNA tests offer answers for some, but not everyone's story fits a lab result. Oral history, family Bibles, and memory still carry what documents tried to erase.
Oral history and family Bibles.
Bible. Man, we said that at the same time. My mic was off. I said oral history. Family Bible. What family Bibles got to do with anything?
Oh, they got grandmama picture in it. Back when she was on the plantation. Yep. That's everybody's proof that you're Indian. See?
Gotcha.
Yep. Family Bibles, oral history. And that's how you do it. DNA, that don't matter. You know what I'm saying? DNA tests don't matter. The real proof don't, the real proof don't matter. That's the white man's science.
But yet the scriptures say, Most High said that your brother's blood cries to me from the ground.
The life is in the blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what side of life you on is the question. Let's see the blood. Look at this sister right here fighting to be an Indian.
Mm-hmm. Black is all get out.
My family had land. And look, this land finna go to you know what? To Hades. Yep. That's where this land going. Told you, man. America has nothing to offer.
And that's the
America,
thing, man. They still see this. They still are under the impression that they're living in the greatest place in the world. Like this is the empire that just will not fall, and they don't see it falling right before their very eyes. You know what I mean?
mm,
And blind to it. I mean, think about it. I hate to bring this up, but think about how many people didn't know Africa looked the way it looked. Just think about that. That's how strong of a delusion you got these people under that they're living in the greatest place on earth. It's
yeah,
insane.
yeah,
A simple Google search. I say you if you don't care about it, you ain't gonna look it up no way.
yeah.
And if you don't care about that, then you don't care about what's going on the world stage right now. You don't see how these mothers they are in free fall right now.
And we showed that too, huh, brother T? Show how all it take is a quick Google search if you want to
Yeah.
see what Africa look like. You know what I mean? See what anywhere
hmm
look like. You know, quick,
hmm
quick little Google search.
hmm it all I don't quote dude a lot, but he spoke some truth. Excuse me, when he said Dr. Umar said the only reason that um black people deny their African lineage is because Africa is losing right now. In their eyes, they losing. He said, but what I mean, they don't know that Africa is rising, and once Africa get up there, then let's see who's gonna want to deny their African lineage in. Exactly. Just watch.
Hmm. Definitely on the rise for sure.
No doubt.
You know. Let's finish this out, man. It's almost done. I'm just trying to show our people why are we claiming something, you know, we claiming to be indigenous. And the reason the government separated us from the road is because of the blood part. This is
hmm
why some of our people were able to get money and land up to a certain point by blood, you know. Like the dude on the video, he said he was 1/4 black, 3/4 Indian. You know, he had land and everything like that. He talked about his grandfather coming over from Oklahoma, coming down into Oklahoma, fleeing from Florida. You know, so
The fight is not over. Black Indians are still here, refusing to disappear, even when the paperwork says otherwise. Today, the erasure of Black Native identity still shapes who is seen, counted, or believed. As long as history remains written by exclusion, entire peoples live between the lines. The story is not over. It is waiting for those willing to read what was meant to be hidden. Drop your thoughts below.
so I wanna talk real quick about why I believe this is a distraction. It's a distraction because not only does it rival who we really are, but it takes our attention away from the truth of what the Most High is getting ready to do. Right? If we're indigenous to a land and this land belongs to us, what does prophecy say concerning this land? What do the scriptures say concerning this land?
Gonna be utterly destroyed. Ain't nobody gonna be here. It's gonna be the home of dragons and something else I forget.
Hmm. He said, that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. So do we really believe that this is talking about us today? And is it really talking about us today? Right? Are we in the nation that's getting ready to be judged?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so it says we're coming out with great substance. And then it says in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. Talking about to the land that our forefather Abraham saw. Right.
Right.
He said, and he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou shalt be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in Yahweh, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Trying to find the part where he said, told him to look at the land. Basically, that the part where he told Abraham to look at the land as far as you can see, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I can go down here. He said, in the same day, Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Is this in America? Because they saying Egypt is in America now.
Yeah, and they saying the Mississippi is the Nile.
Yep. You heard all of that, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, I asked him. I said, "So am I in modern day Egypt? 'Cause I'm right here by Memphis. You got the pyramids and stuff.
Yeah, you in
You know,
Egypt,
you look
bro.
at the map. Yeah, I'm say you look at the map. It's made up similar. You got the Nile River, then you got Egypt. You know where you got the Nile River. I mean, you got the Nile River. You got Memphis, Egypt. And then you look over here. You got, of course, Mississippi River in Memphis, Egypt. Look just alike.
So if you in
But the
Egypt,
river,
where am I? I'm in Texas. Where am I?
uh, let me say, you probably in Nigeria.
Not
Uh,
Nigeria, because it got to be west, right? Nigeria got to be
right,
west.
right. Yep. You gotta be west of it. You gotta be big. So that's the first thing I thought of.
Texas is big, man. You might be right.
Massive.
We
Yep.
down here in Nigeria. They like to call us niggas down here too. For real.
Mm,
The Mexicans like to
I already
call us
know.
niggas. They think they niggas for real. Yeah, but they want to be so bad. But when we say we're indigenous, man, it's a distraction. You know, it's a complete distraction. I said a while back, it wasn't until I learned that we are Israelites that I started to hear that Mashiach wasn't real, or that he's, just an idea, a zodiac and all this kind of stuff. The 12 apostles represent the zodiac and all that. I heard none of that before I started learning who we really are, what his true identity is. Because a lot of people don't like to give him an identity, right? They like to say he's, God is a spirit, and that's true. But guess what? Spirit has an identity. The only invisible God is the Father, right? Who did the Most High give his spirit to? Who did he promise his Holy Spirit to? Every spirit that people claim, right, that they have, the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of peace. Who did the Most High give all these spirits to? He gave them all to Israel. Right? He told wisdom to plant your seed in Israel. So the wisdom of the Most High, the spirit of truth, all of these are spirits that have identities. The Most High himself said he will be glorified in Israel. So he has an identity. I'm just doing this because, a lot of people are hearing this, and it's more prevalent now. And, people are saying this is the trap right here. This is why they tell you it's not about DNA. It's about genealogy. It's about records. Because Brother T might search his last name and he might find out one of his relatives is on that road, one of those roads. And you know what Brother T gonna do if he don't got no understanding? He gonna run with that and say, see, my great grandfather, he was on the Cherokee Road. Not realizing that his great grandfather was assimilated into the Cherokees. During that time, I would identify with anything else that would give me my freedom and allow me to be free and own land. Better than being on a plantation, right?
Straight up.
So that's why they saying go by the genealogy and the word of mouth and all this kind of stuff and leave the DNA alone. Because you might come across that. I might see my last name on one of those roads. I had a relative and he might say Full-Blooded Creek. Why is he saying Full-Blooded Creek? We just showed you all of that. Now I see that now and I run with that. Oh man, I'm a creek. I'm a creek. I'm a Creek Indian. I'm a Choctaw, a Cherokee. Right?
Yeah.
But you leaving out all the details. Ebri, eagle feather. Yeah. Ebri 9 shooter. That's what I would be. I'll be the shooter, man. Ebri 9 shooter. That's crazy. But there's another video that talked about how the Negroes assimilated into the tribes and they were allowed to be in prominent roles in high positions. As always, wherever we go, don't we always elevate to high positions?
All the time.
But
It's in us to do.
yeah, man. But I might do a part 3 to this because I really want people who think if you really believe that we are indigenous to America and that Negroes in America are not African, I really want to have a discussion with you. You know, I have questions, you know, and it's in our respect and our understanding that we have opposing positions. So I want to have a conversation, you know. I think that'll be interesting. I wanna get some more understanding, some more perspective. And that, you know, that's for anybody. So, you know, y'all share this video, like all that good stuff, man. I appreciate y'all. Bro T, you got some thoughts? I know you
Yeah,
you in Tennessee, so are you familiar with people in your family saying that we're Indian and all of that?
absolutely. Yeah. Like on both sides too, and like say for example on my dad's side, um, a lot of the women are light skinned and they got that, not all of them, but that's a good percentage of them got that, curly hair, what they would call Indian hair, hazel eyes and stuff like that. I mean, real pretty women. So, but when you look at the whole family, say like from my dad, you know, lineage, just that alone, all of them are dark skinned. Granddad, my dad, me, my son, on down. You know what I mean? And the ones before that, you know what I'm saying? They was all dark skinned. It's just a portion of my family on his side that feel like they're Indian. I mean, they just light skinned. They're pretty caramel color. And then on my mom's side, all them they straight Negro, but they got the whole hair thing going on. So, and our grandmother, she, had a real sharp face, and it was like, yeah, we I forgot what tribe she said that they was from, but she used to tell me that when I was a kid, that I was an Indian. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, I
Hmm.
seen an Indian. I watch, the little shows on there. I don't look nothing like them folks. I wasn't going for that, even as a kid. Like, man, ain't nobody no Indian.
So
Yeah,
what made you start seeing it different? When did you start expressing it?
so far as what?
Like when you say they taught you that, right?
Oh, okay.
They taught you
Yeah.
that y'all was Indian. So when did you start to sort of express different?
Um, I would say it was all the way up to, well, I guess you could say to like a time I wait because I was still it was still prominent in the family. Like they still believe that. So I just did a little family research. You know what I'm saying? Start interviewing elders. You know what I'm saying, in my family, and I'm hearing about all these things that they went through, but none of them told. I said, so what do you know about Indian culture? I started asking questions like that. You know, it was like, yeah, we this, we that. I said, okay, well, what about your native tongue? Like, what's the actual native language that they use? I said, apparently it wasn't English, right? No, it wasn't English. Okay, so what was you see what I'm saying? Like asking
Yeah,
questions like that. I started asking questions, and I started finding out stuff that I would have never imagined. Like my grandmother, who passed a couple years ago, she told me how she worked on a plantation. And she was bragging about it too. She was like, "Yeah, I used to pick like 300 something pounds of cotton a day." I'm like, "Grandma, you just gonna say it like that? Like, like, yeah, I just got in the game and I just threw up 30 points like it was nothing." You know,
yeah.
like, wow. Told me how she used to work in Memphis at a at a white family's home, to where she she worked in the kitchen, and she said that that's where I found out the term hush puppies, where they came from. She said they used to make them and put them in their pockets because they couldn't eat nothing until the family came down and ate, laughed and talked, and went upstairs and went to bed, because they were like, told them, once you hear the door shut, you know what I mean, then y'all able to eat. So they got to stare, they got to cook, smell all this wonderful food, stand there, watch these folks eat for hours. You just standing there. But she was like, they used to make them hush puppies, act like they
Huh.
coughing and they eat, you know.
Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, I learned a lot of stuff, man, about my, family. Granddad is a sharecropper, all kind of stuff.
Wow.
But none of it matched. None of it matched Native American. Nothing.
So do people in your family today still claim to be Indian?
Today, no, because literally literally all of the elders are gone, all of them. And so you have like the 50 to 60-year-old, and then us, the 40s and the 30s. You know what I mean? Of course, the kids, but
Hmm.
so far as that like being a thing, nah.
Yeah.
Our family are more to, uh, they're more open to their African lineage.
Hmm.
It's just a trip.
Yeah, it's definitely a new thing coming up. I call it a distraction, but in any case, man, I appreciate you coming on, bro. I'm about to
Oh,
shut
yeah.
it down. And
I had a question before we left, though.
yeah,
You know, what our people are promoting out here right now, with the FBA, Indigenous, and all that. Even I heard a preacher from Africa today talking about Darian Calloway. It was a trip. But um, isn't their movement and what they are teaching, you know, isn't that against scripture? Does you know what I mean? Doesn't that bump head against scripture?
yeah,
If you got
that's
Dan Calloway saying that, oh, it wasn't no slave ship, then you go read Deuteronomy 28:68, it's talking about slave ship. You see what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I showed yesterday. This whole belief that we indigenous, you know, 1 minute is Black Americans are not from Africa, and then the next minute is not all Black Americans came from Africa. You know, it's all a distraction, and it's gonna fall through one way or the other. But you know, in any case, man, if y'all haven't already, y'all make sure y'all hit the like button and subscribe to T.I.R. Talk Show and Fellowship, as well as Resurrecting the Truth. And make sure y'all check out truehebrew.com, freshest Hebrew brand in the land. Make sure y'all give us some feedback too. Appreciate y'all in advance. Any final thoughts, my brother? I'm so hungry,
No,
man.
yeah, me too. Just appreciate you having me, man. Shalom, bless to the chat, man. Well, y'all,
In-
y'all be easy, bro.
Indeed, man. Shalom to everybody in the chat. Shalom to the brothers. Once again, see y'all on the next one. Peace.
Amplified, my mind is a niggas smile up in your face and stick a knife in your back. I was born to take power on this planet. Niggas smile up in your face and stick a knife in your back. I was born to take power on this planet. Take care of my body, my temple, my mind is a power. See niggas smile up in your face and stick a knife in your back. I was born to take power on this planet. Take care of my body, my temple, my mind is a power. See niggas smile up in your face and stick a knife in your back. I was born to take power, leave my mark on this planet.